Most of us go to the gym or start a new exercise routine with the best intentions. We want to be stronger, healthier, and more capable as we age. But here's the shocker. Some of the very exercises we've been told are safe and effective are quietly doing the opposite. They're weakening us. They're damaging our joints. And worst of all, we don't even feel it happening until it's too late. Let's talk specifically about one of the most common culprits of the Rs leg press machine. You've probably seen it or even used it yourself. You sit down, place your feet on a metal plate, and push it away. Sounds easy, feels powerful, but what's happening behind the scenes in your muscles and joints tells a very different story. Here's what's critical to understand. The leg press machine isolates certain muscle groups, primarily the quadriceps, while removing the natural synergy between your hips, glutes, hamstrings, calves, and even your core. When you do a real life movement like walking, climbing stairs, or rising from a chair, your body doesn't work in isolation. It functions as a team. Your muscles fire together in sequence, creating both stability and strength. But when you sit in a machine that locks your body into a fixed path, you remove all that beautiful coordination. You create artificial strength. This artificial strength is deceptive. You may feel like your legs are getting stronger because you're pushing heavier weights each week. But in reality, you're training only a fraction of your muscle system. Your stabilizers, the deep muscles that protect your joints and help with balance, are being neglected. That's why so many people who train hard on machines still struggle with basic functional movements. They look strong, but they move weak. Even worse, when you overload a leg press machine, the unnatural angle of force can increase compression on your lower back and knees. I've seen countless patients come in with chronic knee pain or tight hips, and when I trace their workout history, the leg press is often front and center. It's like slowly tightening a screw over months and years until finally something snaps. And by then, your body's already paid the price. This doesn't mean the leg press is inherently evil. Like any tool, it has a time and place, especially in rehabilitation or as a supplementary exercise. But the danger is when it becomes the foundation of your leg training. Especially as we get older, we must shift our focus from isolated power to integrated strength. That means training movements, not just muscles. Now, I want to touch on something deeper. Many people are drawn to these machines because they feel safe, controlled, predictable. They let you sit down, strap in, and lift without fear of falling or losing balance. But that very predictability is part of the problem. It robs you of the small adjustments your body needs to make in real life, where no movement is ever perfectly controlled. The world isn't a machine, and our bodies weren't designed to move like one. There's also a psychological comfort in machines. We live in a society that rewards convenience and control. We want results without risk. We want strength without struggle. And machines cater to that mindset. But real strength, the kind that keeps you walking upright at age 80, that keeps you from falling, that lets you chase your grandkids without pain, that strength is messy. It's built through coordinated effort, mindful movement, and a willingness to let the body adapt to challenge, not avoid it. This is where wisdom comes in, knowing when to question what's familiar. Knowing that more weight doesn't always mean more strength. Knowing that safe doesn't always mean smart. And above all, knowing that longevity doesn't come from looking powerful. It comes from being functional. So if you've been relying on the leg press or other similar machines as your main source of leg training, it's time for a shift. Step back, reassess. Ask yourself, am I training for real life or am I training for a number on a machine? Because those are two very different goals, and only one of them will protect your body as you age. Let's be clear, aging doesn't mean weakening. It means refining, learning to listen more carefully to what your body actually needs, and giving it exactly that. In the case of leg strength, what it truly needs is not force in isolation, but strength in harmony. And that harmony starts when we stop chasing strength through shortcuts. Your legs aren't just muscles, they are your foundation. Treat them as such. Vast real strength isn't just about what you can push, it's about what you can carry through life without falling. And that, my friends, begins with choosing movement that builds, not breaks. When we think about exercise, we often think of it in terms of movement. We lift, we squat, we stretch. But what we don't always talk about, what we often overlook, is the space between those movements. the pause, the control, the stability. And that's where posture and alignment come in, particularly in exercises like squats and lunges, which so many people do with great intentions but little awareness. That's the silent destroyer we need to talk about. Now, on the surface, squats and lunges are fantastic exercises. They recruit multiple muscle groups, build leg and core strength, and improve mobility. But here's the catch. They only work as intended if your posture is aligned and your movement pattern is sound. If your spine is tilted, your knees collapse inward, or your hips are imbalanced, then what you're doing isn't building strength, it's reinforcing dysfunction. And dysfunction, when repeated often enough, becomes injury. Think of your body as a house. Your legs are the foundation. Your spine is the structure. Now imagine building that house on a slight slope. At first, things might look fine. But over time, the cracks start to appear. Doors don't close right, floors creak, and eventually something gives way. That's what happens when we perform leg exercises with poor posture and misalignment. It's subtle at first, a little knee ache, some lower back tension, a weird tightness in your hip, but it adds up. Week after week, rep after rep, that misalignment puts strain on the joints instead of strengthening the muscles. One of the biggest mistakes people make with these compound exercises is chasing depth instead of control. You've probably heard it, get low in your squat, drop your back knee in a lunge. But what if your mobility isn't there yet? What if your hip flexors are too tight or your ankles don't flex the way they should? Forcing a deep squat in a body that's not ready for it is like slamming a car into fifth gear before second. It's not just inefficient, it's dangerous. I've seen countless people, especially over 40, trying to emulate movements they see in fitness videos or group classes without realizing that their own bodies are giving them a very different instruction. Their bodies are saying, slow down, align me first, strengthen my foundation before you ask me to go deeper. But they don't hear it, or worse, they ignore it, because they think pain is part of the process. Let me be clear, pain is not a badge of honor. It's a warning sign. And alignment is how we prevent that warning from turning to a siren. There's also a psychological layer to this. Many of us are so focused on progress, on heavier weights, more reps, deeper ranges, that we forget to ask the most important question, am I moving well? Because how you move matters far more than how much you move. This obsession with performance over form is rooted in ego, not in wisdom. And ego may get you short-term gains, but it will never support long-term health. So let's bring it back to alignment. What does that actually look like? It means your spine is neutral, not hunched, not hyperextended. Your knees are tracking over your toes, not caving in or pushing too far forward. Your core is engaged, not sucked in, but braced like a natural belt supporting your lower back. Your hips are level, not tilting to one side, which can easily happen if one leg is stronger than the other. These sound like small details, but they make the difference between building strength and building strain. And here's the beauty of it: when you take the time to move with integrity, everything gets better. Your strength improves, yes, but so does your balance, your coordination, even your confidence. You begin to trust your body again. You stop fearing movement. You stop avoiding stairs or bending down or picking up your child. That's the kind of strength that changes lives, not the number on the barbell, but the freedom in your everyday movement. I want you to take this to heart. Your body is speaking to you in every rep, every set. Are you listening? Or are you pushing through dysfunction because you think that's what strength looks like? Real strength begins with respect for your body's mechanics, for your limitations, and for the process of building something sustainable. And just like a wise builder doesn't rush the foundation, a wise mover doesn't rush their form. So, if you want to protect your muscles, not silently destroy them, start with posture. Start with alignment. Because when your body moves in harmony, it doesn't just grow stronger, it stays stronger. Let's talk about the most underestimated part of the exercise equation, the art of slowing down. In a world where we chase speed, intensity, and numbers, more steps, faster sprints, heavier weights, we've lost sight of something essential: controlled, mindful movement. It sounds simple, almost too gentle to matter. But here's the truth when it comes to preserving muscle function and protecting your joints, especially in your legs: as slow is strong. Most people don't realize this, but speed often hides weakness. When we rush through emotion, whether it's walking, lifting, or even rising from a chair, we let momentum do the work. Momentum robs your muscles of their full engagement. Think about that for a moment. You're going through the motions, maybe even working up a sweat, but your deeper stabilizers, the muscles that give you balance, strength, and endurance, aren't truly firing. It's like building a house on sand. Looks fine at first, but the foundation isn't holding anything steady. Controlled movement, on the other hand, demands discipline. It forces your body to pay attention and your muscles to engage fully throughout the entire range. That's not just good biomechanics, it's neurological intelligence. Every time you slow down a motion, you're retraining your nervous system to fire the right muscles at the right time. That builds coordination, efficiency, and long-term strength that can't be faked or forced. One of the most common examples of this is how we walk. Yes, walking. Something so basic, so automatic, we don't even think about it. But that's the problem. We don't think about it. Most people walk with a forward lean, minimal hip engagement, and little to no glute activation. It becomes a passive act instead of a powerful stride. But when you slow down your walk, even just for 5 minutes a day, and consciously push through your heel, lift through your core, and squeeze your glutes, everything changes. Suddenly, your walk becomes a strength exercise, your legs become aligned, your posture lifts, and your balance, your literal sense of groundedness, begins to return. Let's take another common scenario, lunges or squats. Most people drop into these movements quickly and pop right back up, thinking they're doing themselves a favor. But speed here often cheats the eccentric phase, the lowering part, which is where the real muscle building and tendon strengthening happens. When you slow down your descent, hold the tension, and rise with control, you build resilience. And not just in the muscle belly, but in the tendons, ligaments, and connective tissues that protect your knees, hips, and ankles. This is the real antidote to injury, not just flexibility, not just strength, but controlled strength. Philosophically, this brings us to an even deeper truth. Our culture glorifies acceleration. We equate fast with efficient, busy with productive, sweat with success. But in our bodies and in life, acceleration without control leads to burnout. It leads to breakdown. Whether it's the heart racing from stress or the joints aching from rushed repetitions, it's all telling us the same thing: slow down. Be intentional. Pay attention. And isn't that the real root of transformation? Attention. When we're attentive, we move with grace. When we're attentive, we notice the imbalances before they become injuries. We begin to ask, is this movement serving me? Or am I just performing it? That question alone can change the trajectory of someone's fitness journey. I've seen patients in their 60s and 70s who regain their strength not by lifting more weight or doing more reps, but by learning to move slower, more consciously. They stopped treating exercise like a race and started treating it like a conversation with their own bodies. And that's when healing began. That's when power returned. Not explosive power, not temporary strength, but sustainable, functional strength that lets them walk without fear, climb stairs with ease, and most importantly, live with confidence. The challenge, of course, is that slow movement doesn't offer the dopamine rush of fast-paced workouts. It doesn't give you that immediate high. It requires patience. It requires humility. But what it gives you in return is priceless: longevity, injury prevention, and a deeper connection with your own physical wisdom. That's the kind of strength that doesn't just serve your body, it sharpens your mind and fortifies your spirit. So if you take away one thing today, let it be this: don't confuse motion for progress. Real power isn't loud, it's quiet, it's intentional. And often it begins when you slow down enough to feel what your body's been trying to tell you all along. There's a deeply held belief in the fitness world that more is always better. More reps, more time at the gym, more burn, more sweat. But what if I told you that the very thing we often think is helping us, the constant repetition of certain exercises, might be the exact thing wearing us down? Not in a way that screams injury right away, but in a way that quietly chips away at our foundation, one subtle imbalance at a time. That's the hidden truth behind overuse. And it's something we don't talk about enough. The human body is a remarkable machine. It adapts to stress, it rebuilds stronger after effort, and it learns movement through repetition. But it's also a creature of balance. And when you repeat the same movement over and over again, especially if that movement pattern is slightly flawed. It can lead to a cascade of compensation. Muscles that were supposed to be activated begin to turn off. Others, meant to play a supporting role, become the lead. And the integrity of the movement begins to erode. This is how people who work out religiously still find themselves with weak glutes, tight hip flexors, or chronic knee pain. Let's take an example we've all seen. Someone doing squats 5 days a week because they're trying to build strong legs. They're motivated, they're consistent, but they're also locked into a movement that prioritizes the quads and ignores the deeper postural muscles like the glute medius or the transverse abdominis. Over time, the repetition reinforces an imbalance, and what begins as a productive habit becomes a source of wear and tear. And here's where it gets psychological, because consistency is a good thing, right? Discipline is a good thing. But there's a kind of rigidity that masquerades as discipline. It's the mindset that says, if I don't do this exact workout every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, I'm falling behind. That mindset can be dangerous because it blinds us to the feedback our body is trying to give us. Soreness becomes background noise. Stiffness becomes normal. And the subtle signals of overuse, fatigue, joint tension, decreased range of motion, get dismissed as part of the grind. But the truth is, your body craves variety, not just for balance, but for vitality. It wants to be challenged in multiple planes of motion at different speeds with different loads. That's how you awaken new motor patterns, develop neuromuscular coordination, and keep your muscles engaged in a functional, healthy way. The same way your brain grows through diverse stimulation, your body thrives when it's moved in different ways. When we lock ourselves into just one or two movement patterns, we're not building resilience, we're building a rut. There's also a cultural aspect to this. We often glorify the no days off mentality. But recovery isn't weakness. Recovery is wisdom. Muscles don't grow while you're lifting. They grow while you're resting. And ligaments, tendons, and connective tissue need even longer to adapt. So when we don't allow the body the space it needs to restore and reorganize, we're not speeding up progress, we're interrupting it. And eventually, the body pushes back. Sometimes it whispers, an ache here, a pinch there. But if ignored long enough, it shouts in the form of injury. One of the most overlooked signs of overuse is not pain, but plateau. When you're doing everything right and still not getting stronger, still not feeling more energized, it may not be because you're not doing enough. It may be because you're doing too much of the same thing. The nervous system starts tuning out familiar patterns. Muscles stop firing as efficiently. And instead of moving forward, you stall. So what's the solution? It's not quitting. It's not training less. It's training smarter. It's rotating your exercises to target different muscle groups. It's incorporating rest days with purpose. It's cross-training, adding mobility work, core engagement, and even different modalities like swimming, cycling, or pilates to round out your movement. And perhaps most importantly, it's cultivating a mindset of curiosity rather than compulsion. What does your body need today? Where are you stiff? Where are you weak? How can you move differently, not just harder? You see, longevity isn't about pushing the same lever over and over. It's about tuning into your body, adjusting the dials, and learning how to move through life, not just a workout with grace and power. Overuse doesn't announce itself with fanfare. It whispers. But those whispers matter. Avesh, so let's listen before the whisper becomes a scream. Let's move with intelligence, not just intensity. Because true strength isn't built on repetition alone. It's built on awareness, adaptability, and the courage to pause and pivot when your body asks for it.